In the dim light of a nearly deserted parking lot, a woman stood motionless, her figure outlined by the faint glow of street lamps. The chill in the air was biting, her breath visible in the cold night, but she remained unfazed. Her hands were calm, her gaze unwavering. Behind her, a male officer approached quickly, a look of impatience on his face. His hand hovered near his weapon, while the other pointed aggressively. "Hey, what are you doing here?" he demanded, his voice harsh and sharp. She responded calmly, her voice a stark contrast to his. "Just heading home," she replied. But this didn't satisfy the officer. She moved slowly, her fingers reaching into her coat pocket. It was enough to make the officer act. Within moments, he shoved her against a cold brick wall, her shoulder slamming into it with a dull thud. He twisted her arms behind her back, his grip firm and unyielding. Yet, her expression remained calm, too calm. His cruiser's dash cam recorded the entire scene, silently capturing every moment. The officer didn't bother with questions, nor did he read her rights. He didn't need to. In his mind, she was an outsider, a woman of color, alone at night. That alone was enough to trigger his reaction. What he didn't realize was that this woman wasn't just anyone. She was Special Agent Nadia Ellis, working undercover for a federal investigation into corruption within the very police force he served. Her presence in the neighborhood was part of a larger operation. That night, Nadia didn't just become a victim of police brutality. She unknowingly provided the proof the Bureau had been waiting for. She had been operating undercover for months, observing officers' behavior, gathering evidence. Posing as a civilian employee for a fictional audit project, she had slipped into the department unnoticed. The officers dismissed her, mocked her, and even questioned her credentials. One officer had sarcastically asked if she was affiliated with parole services. Nadia kept silent, observing and absorbing everything. The little comments, the smirks, the whispers that spoke volumes. The town of Riverton wasn't known for crime. It had a small-town charm, with neat streets and cozy cafes. Yet, beneath the polished surface, a disturbing system of bias lurked. Black and Latino teenagers were stopped with little to no reason. Reports were conveniently lost or altered. Body cameras malfunctioned mysteriously. Nadia, sharp and perceptive, noted these patterns and kept encountering one name, Officer William Grant. Aggressive and unchecked, Grant seemed to operate above the law. His arrest record spoke volumes. More than 80% of his arrests were of people of color, with reports that were vague and always lacking evidence. Nadia had flagged him early, but she knew she needed a clear incident to back up her claims. She couldn't provoke him. She needed him to reveal himself. And he did. After the unnecessary confrontation, Nadia gave a false identity and walked away from the station, bruised but not broken. The data was in her hands. Body cam footage, internal memos, timestamps, everything she needed for her case. It all went directly into her federal file. The next day, Nadia returned her undercover role. No one suspected anything. She reviewed the evidence she had gathered. Traffic stops, arrest patterns, officer behavior. The numbers didn't lie. In just 1 month, black drivers were 5 times more likely to be searched than white drivers, with less contraband found. Latino teens were disproportionately cited for curfew violations. One teenager, Daniel, stood out to her, a promising 16-year-old she'd seen play in a local basketball game. The next morning, he was picked up by Grant, accused of looking suspicious. No charges were filed, but 6 hours of Daniel's life were gone, wasted for no reason. Nadia knew she couldn't just sit on this information. She had to act. So, she started to leak small pieces to local reporters, nothing directly pointing to her, just enough to get attention. The articles followed. Complaints about police brutality grew. The department started to feel the pressure. Grant, arrogant as ever, dismissed it all as noise. Then, just as Nadia anticipated, the mayor's office announced a surprise audit of the department. Nadia immediately saw it for what it was, damage control. They intended to bury the truth. The Bureau advised caution, but Nadia knew the time to act was now. She made her move. She released the footage, the raw, unfiltered video of Grant attacking her. She sent it to an independent watchdog group with media ties. Within hours, the video went viral, and the city of Riverton could no longer control the narrative. The truth was out there for everyone to see. Tensions ran high within the department. Conversations stopped when Nadia walked into a room. Officer Grant, unaware of the looming storm, became louder, more aggressive. One night, Nadia followed him again. This time, he stopped a young black teen, Malik, who was simply biking home from work. Grant claimed the teen had no reflectors on his bike, a false accusation easily disproven by the dashcam footage. Still, Grant made Malik empty his pockets, forced him to sit on the curb, and demanded he explain himself. Nadia filmed everything. Later, when she met with Malik, he was hesitant to speak, his mother's warnings about cops echoing in his mind. But Nadia reassured him, "I'm not like them." Nadia filed for Grant's suspension. Her report was thorough: video, timestamps, and policy violations. Her FBI supervisor cautioned her. Her cover was at risk. But Nadia had seen enough. Then, an anonymous envelope appeared on her desk. Inside were documents detailing complaints about Grant, misconduct, false arrests, and other cover-ups that the department had swept under the rug. This was bigger than just Grant. It was about the entire system. She compiled the evidence, but this time, her target wasn't just one officer. She had the higher-ups in her sights, the ones who had ignored, enabled, or covered for Grant. Nadia demanded a public hearing. This wasn't just about one cop anymore. It was about the broken system that protected him. The courtroom was packed. Protesters filled the streets outside. Inside, the city's legal team tried to make it a procedural matter, but Nadia wasn't having it. "This isn't about one officer," she stated. "It's about a system that taught him that no one would stop him." She presented the footage, Grant's attack, the missing body cam footage, internal emails from officers trying to avoid working with him. The final piece, a training evaluation that had flagged Grant for poor impulse control, which had been ignored by the now chief of police. The room was stunned. Then Malik stood up. He had agreed to testify anonymously, but in a moment of courage, he revealed his full name. "I was stopped on my way home," he said. "He said I should be careful in this neighborhood." His voice cracked as he spoke. If Nadia hadn't been there, who would have believed me? The courtroom fell silent as Officer Grant became the symbol of a corrupt system. Nadia, refusing interviews, submitted her full report, demanding indictments, firings, and a systemic overhaul. The city retaliated, leaking her FBI role. Public opinion split. Some hailed her as a hero, others accused her of entrapment. But the truth was already out. Nadia held a press conference, stating, "The most dangerous thing is a system that lets officers get away with brutality." The department scrambled, but Nadia had already sent her second report to federal oversight. It exposed altered records, body cam failures, and emails covering up misconduct. Grant was suspended, and a national investigation began. Riverton PD was overhauled, but Nadia pressed on, meeting survivors, drafting new policies, and creating a fund for victims' families. Nadia had exposed and dismantled the system, leaving the city's corruption no longer hidden behind false reports and clean streets.